I mean, this is the trick that people use all the time, right? They want you to think that when we talk about rich, we're talking about a doctor or a lawyer instead of someone with hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. That's what we mean by rich.
Yes, the forehead has spoken. Very artsy video where it's just the forehead. Probably not to cover the entire face, so you can see her laughing all the way to the bank. And I also love the zoom. Did you notice that? Like the zoom. What is that? Zoom, enlarge, huh? Is that what hip and trendy people do? Is that what zoomers do? That's why she's zooming. She's appealing to the zoomers. So yes, the word rich. It's a very interesting word because it's very subjective, isn't it? And it's subjective with a purpose. It's not subjective by accident. Subjective with a purpose. Because the word rich means different things for different people, and it's very easy to set up a Motte and Bailey tactic with it. So for a homeless person, the word rich can also mean another homeless person that also has a mattress in a tent. But it's definitely going to mean someone with a house. For a person that has a one-room apartment, the word rich can mean a person that has a larger apartment. For myself, the word rich can mean a person with a mansion. A person with a mansion can think about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as rich. And I guess AOC can think of Bezos as rich. So it's very subjective, which is why it works. Because the ideology of socialism is that capitalism is a very greedy system where the rich are hoarding resources. And the resources, instead of being shared and everyone having a fair share of the pie, the resources are being hoarded by greedy people. So the reason that AOC manages to get the person in the ghetto to vote for her is because when she says eat the rich, the person in the ghetto is going to think about people like her. You know, like she doesn't really get to explain who the rich are. Because if the person in the ghetto goes like, we need to eat Jeff Bezos, they're like, why do I care about Jeff Bezos? You know, like, it's just one guy. It's not really enough to motivate me. But if you say, well, you know, the rich, like your neighbor that lives in a better house, then it's like, oh, well, why does my neighbor live in a better house? Why can't I live in a better house as well? We need to seize the wealth. And recently, it's very interesting because a lot of these socialists are actually showing that socialism works. I mean, we get to see the BLM chica, Marxist. She's got $1 million mansion. We got to see Bernie Sanders, who used to talk about the millionaires and billionaires, and recently he dropped the millionaires and only spoke about the billionaires. Why? Because he became a millionaire. AOC, you know, she's not a millionaire yet, but she does seem to cozy up with the rich. She does seem to get invited to places where a ticket is $35,000. And, you know, people are turning heads. Hassan Piker, also millionaire. I don't know how much money other socialists have, but it seems like everywhere I look, you see wealthy socialists. And I used to have this theory, which I think is quite accurate. And these are the 3 stages of socialism. The first stage is the Marxist. And the Marxist is just like a random kid that's dissatisfied with capitalism. Maybe he lives in a dorm. Maybe he's argued with his family, so he doesn't know any better. And he champions people that will push socialism. And he will donate money, he will donate resources, he will go on the street, get beaten by cops. And this is like the Marxist. And then you have the Leninist. Now, the Leninist is a person that's an organizer. He is a higher up within the ideology. He managed to amass a little bit of wealth and power, whether it is because he's running a blog, whether it is because he's got a Patreon and, you know, the cash is flowing. So this is the Leninist. And finally, you get to the Stalinist. The Stalinists are people like that BLM chica, the Marxist leader, you know, who already buys a really nice house, is already very wealthy, and now she's thinking about getting security to keep other people from getting what she has. So those are the 3 stages. I guess like AOC is somewhere between the Stalinist and the Leninist stage. So yeah, socialism is very profitable for the people in charge. No one denied that. It definitely works, because if it didn't work, then why would you do it? So people like Bernie Sanders, people like Hassan Piker, people like AOC, yeah, they're making a lot of money. Hands over fist. Too bad they forget about the sharing aspect. You know, the aspect of taking money, they're very great. And they're also great at raising awareness, like eat the rich. You know, the rich should be taxed more. The rich should be taxed more, believe it or not, regardless of what you think, is a very popular concept among the United States. Like if you look at the Pew Research data, it shows that overwhelmingly a lot of Americans want to tax the rich more. So the awareness is already raised, but you're not going to see AOC actually do anything about it. Just like she's not doing anything about any of her other promises, like forcing the vote on abolishing student debt, you know, pestering the Democrats about abolishing student debt, which, by the way, you may agree or not agree with abolishing student debt. It was one of the campaign promises, right? You're not going to see any of that. Why? Because, like, that's not the point. The point is to become the Stalinist. That's the point. To ascend. To reach the next level. And by the way, like, you know what's interesting about this ideology? It's like, okay, we need to tax people more, tax people more. Why did they never talk about government spending? Because there's a lot of things you can do with the resources you already have. Like, taking money away from people isn't the only thing. Redistributing them is also important. So if you're going to spend money on gender studies in Pakistan and Kabul, you're going to have less money to spend on healthcare in the United States, right? But because you now have less money to spend on healthcare, then you need to raise more taxes. So it's very funny, you know, like the people are the one responsible for not paying more taxes, but the government isn't responsible for not spending those taxes accurately. Yeah, that's pretty much what socialism is. And by the way, I want to address this because it really annoys me whenever I'm going on Twitter. I see people going, it's like, look, just because they're wealthy, it doesn't mean their heart isn't in the right place. Or just because they live in a capitalist system doesn't mean they can't use the system. And by the way, I want to say that I agree with the overwhelming concept, right? Like, if you're a socialist in a capitalist society, you're still going to get a job because you need to put food on the table. So you're going to get a job. You're going to have a phone because jobs require you to have a phone. But what I don't understand is, like, when you are partaking into the excesses of capitalism, like I mentioned before, like going to an event that costs $35,000 to enter in order to fraternize with the rich, when you're going to buy $1 million mansion, like, these are the things that I don't understand. And to me, it like, not just to me, but to other people, this looks like a person who is campaigning against natural fur, but is wearing the same outfit like Cruella de Vil. It looks like a person that's campaigning to abolish slavery, but he owns 5 plantations. Like, we're not even talking about what. No, like, they're owning 5 plantations. A person that is a peasant and says, hey, you know what? If you other peasants, if you all give me your money, I'm going to overthrow the monarchy. Isn't the monarchy oppressing you? Yeah, just give me money and we'll overthrow it. And the peasants actually buy into that, gives money to the guy, and then the guy uses the money in order to marry into a royal family, and is now living in the castle, and he is buddy with the king. And when the peasants go like, what are you doing? It's like, he's like, look. I'm not royalty, right? Because I'm not the king. Like, when we talk about royalty, we're talking about the king and the queen. I'm just an archduke. Just an archduke, so I'm not royalty. When I said abolish the monarchy, I meant just the king and the queen, not me. It's pretty much like that argument. Very funny. But yeah, so socialism definitely works for the people that know how to push it. It's a very profitable ideology because people like AOC managed to suck the revolutionary spirit and then send it to the corporate graveyard by buddying with wealthy people, by making friends in high places. And right now, like, I think AOC is just a brand. Like an actor or a politician that takes a picture with her, all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's got the endorsement of AOC. Wow, what a progressive company. So progressive, so revolutionary. And that's pretty much what they're doing. It's like they're sucking the revolutionary spirit out of the United States. Now, what I mean by sucking the revolutionary spirit, I'm not talking about violence. I'm talking about another Occupy Wall Street. Because I don't know how effective Occupy Wall Street was, but it definitely freaked out the elites. You're going to notice the word racism and all of the social justice and wokeism, which is spreading people based on different tribes and pitting them one against each other, happened after Occupy Wall Street. And from the people that went to Occupy Wall Street, I know, like, some of them were crying because they noticed people with a lot of time, young individuals, they were going there and they were getting followers, and then they were starting saying nonsense. It's like, we can't let white people speak because we need to let disadvantaged people speak first. So the black lady with one arm in the wheelchair, like, she's the one that needs to speak first before everyone else. We can't just be against the banks foreclosing on people. We can't just be against the government bailing out the banks. No, we need to be against that plus social justice. So if you're not 100% with us on social justice and every social justice issue we talk about, that you can't be part of the movement, you're not welcome here. And guess what that did? That completely destroyed Occupy Wall Street. And I think they just applied the same logic, but to a bigger scale. Because now you have all the people that are completely distracted, that just pump money into people like AOC, into people like Hassan Piker and whatnot, through super chats or whatever, like people who would legitimately want to change, who would want a better life, but they just give money to millionaires. Unreal. I never thought this would work, but I suppose like socialism does work. I mean, they found the recipe. Wow, like I was so blind all this time. But anyway, thank you guys for watching this video, and let me know what you think in the comments section. Take care.